At the beginning of September, I posted the beginning of a sketchbook tour. It turned into quite a long video because it was a big sketchbook with a lot of pages. So I'm back with the second half of that sketchbook. And just to remind you, this is a sketchbook. It's not a pretty sketchbook. It's a sketchbook where I try out lots of different materials. I was trying to figure out what it was I wanted to work with, what I enjoyed using. Now, this page, this is where I was really using those gouache paints that I bought, and everything on this page is copied. So this bear is a copy of a picture by Cass Wright. She's one of my favourite illustrators. I have some of her prints up on my bedroom wall. I love her use of colour, it's beautiful, the scenes that she creates, and the way she can simplify animal shapes into very basic sort of form and give them so much character. Really beautiful work. I can't remember who any of these flowers were by. I think they're people that I follow on Instagram, and I was just copying their posts. Now, when it comes to copying, I know sometimes it can be seen as a bad thing, and it is a bad thing. Copying other people's work is not excusable, except in this circumstance where you are learning. So I wasn't copying any of these artists because I wanted to create work exactly like them, or copy their finished pieces and start producing work like that. And I was never going to post this on Instagram and pass it off as mine or anything like that. In fact, this is the first time I've shown anyone these pages. What I was doing was I just got the gouache paints, and I knew that these people, or suspected these people, were using gouache in their artwork. So I was looking to see how they'd used it. So here, for example, this artist that I was copying was obviously using a really fine brush to get these detailed strokes, but they were also blending as they went, and they were using the gouache quite thick and blending it out. And I can picture this artist's Instagram account, but I can't remember their name. If I can find it, I will add a link. Whereas with Cass Wright's pictures, I think she uses gouache, maybe it's acrylic gouache, but it's applied much more thinly, so there's much more texture coming through, or a range of textures in the gouache. So there's like a thin layer, and then applying thicker layers over the top, and keeping it really simple in terms of the number of colours that are used in a piece. So I was copying a little bear that she'd drawn and just seeing how you apply the paint in that way, and the same with these. And then again here, this was also copied. This is like gouache that's laid down quite thick. And I don't like it. I like it when I see the artist that I copied doing it, but I didn't like working in this way. So here I've gone back to that idea of putting down the watercolour and going over it in graphite, which is what I did with these leaves. And I really like them, even though they're really simple. I just think it's really beautiful that there's these watercolour textures, like here especially, and then the detail picked out in graphite. And maybe the combination of colours as well works really well. But when it came to the woodpecker, I got as far as sort of his head, and I was obviously just really bored. Here in the corner, I've written, "Don't look at the next page," and I think that's fair enough. Really ugly badgers, September 2022, and yeah, they are really ugly. This is gouache paint. As I said, I'd only just got the gouache. I wasn't really used to using it. I'd used it a little bit at school many years ago, but I was very out of practice with it. And I wanted to I think I was trying to just go straight in with the paint. There was no sketching beforehand of what badgers look like, and I think that shows through. But also I was trying to kind of blend the paint as I went in different colours. It works a little bit here maybe, but overall, whatever it was I was trying to achieve here, it did not work. These are really ugly badgers, but that's what the sketchbook's for. And again, I was just playing with blending and layering the gouache. I was really trying to get to like gouache. I love it when I see other artists use it, and I feel like I should like it, but I just can't make it work for me. In fact, my favourite use of it is this here, where I used it really thin like watercolour and then just drew over it in a pencil crayon. Again, a range of different materials, and this is another example of me choosing the same subject matter and applying different media to it to compare. So gouache and coloured pencil, thin acrylic gouache, a thicker sort of application of acrylic gouache with some coloured pencil, and watercolour and coloured pencil. And I really enjoyed, doodling in this way, but I think I was learning at this point that these paints weren't for me. And I think maybe this is watercolour and acrylic gouache again. And here, this is just some experiments with graphite and oil-based pencils. And I think what I was trying to do was reduce the problem of shine that you get on graphite, especially when you layer it up or use the darker shades. Here I'd got myself some Neocolor 2 water-soluble wax pastels, I think they're called, by Caran d'Ache. I love them. I had a big set of them years ago, and they're beautiful. They're really, really thick, creamy, tactile sort of crayons that are really versatile because they're water-soluble, and they come in a beautiful range of colours. I just cannot use them, or at least I can't use them in a way that I'm happy with, or create finished pieces that I'm happy with. But every now and then I do like to pick them up and have a scribble with them, because they're just so beautiful to draw with and feel. Now here I wrote lots of notes amongst these little blue tip doodles. What does it say? Rendering the same double page spread various ways to discover what works for me. So I didn't actually do that in the sketchbook, I did it on some paper. But I printed off the same image on some different sheets of paper, and I coloured them in or rendered them using different materials so that I could compare like for like, see what process I enjoyed the most, see what finished results I enjoyed the most. Maybe that's because my background's in science, that I have to do things in that organised, comparative way. So I tried out gouache, watercolour markers with pen, watercolour pencils with coloured pencils, watercolour alone, Procreate, and graphite worked over digital art. So that's that kind of thing again, where I printed it out and went over the top of it. It was a really good exercise, and it was really good to write those notes down in my sketchbook so that I have a record of them, because I quite often get into my head the idea that, I'd love to try such and such a material. I'd love to try gouache combined with coloured pencils, and then maybe, Neocolors over the top. And then I flick back through my sketchbook and remember, I tried that actually for quite a while and I hated it, or I couldn't do it, or I loved the process but I hated the end results. And my notebook's littered with notes like that. Sometimes I'll see a picture that I like the look of and I think, that was nice, I like that. But then I'll read the notes next to it and I'm reminded that I hated every second of the process. It was really boring and I couldn't wait to get it finished. And it's good to remind myself of those things because sometimes I forget. Anyway, my conclusions were, I like detailed graphite, watercolour textures and areas of pattern or solid colour. I think that's still true. The flowers on this page are again a copy. They're copied from an artist whose name I'm about to horribly mispronounce. I think it's Genevieve Gouache. I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm very sorry. But she's an amazing illustrator of picture books who creates sort of quite a mid-century look using coloured pencils and pastels. And again, I was copying here not because I want to create pictures that look like hers or have that same look about them, but just because she uses pencil crayons in a really beautiful way and I wanted to see how she does it by trying to do it myself. So that's what this is. And again, there's another one with this lady here. And then I took that technique and applied it to some birds, and I wrote loads of notes over this one about how it was time consuming but relaxing. how pencil crayons make me happy, how it would be easy to adapt this to different colours and light and dark images and so on. And then this is a scan and a printout of that, because I wanted to see what it looked like sort of reproduced. And apart from the colour of the paper affecting the colours, it's almost identical, really. This is really, really enjoyable way of working. I liked that a lot, and when I look at it now I think, oh yeah, that would be nice. Just you use the pencil crayon in a sort of round and round like this rather than like that, just lots of little circles, and it's very relaxing, time consuming but relaxing. Back to the Neocolors, and this was just mark making, just seeing what you can get out of the material, which is a really important thing to do. You know, holding it in your hand in different ways, applying different amounts of pressure. Some of them I put water over the top, some of them I had water on the page and then scribbled in on it. And I was just here, I think I was just doodling, just messing around with watercolours. And here I am going back to the coloured pencils. These two birds I really like, and this little tiny pebble, that's quite cute. And again, they were done in that style, copying Genevieve. But when I applied it to this fish, it didn't really work so well. These are the gouache paints that I got, so those are the original 5 colours that I got, and it's really nice to see this range of colours that I created from just those 5, and they're really lovely and muted, earthy shades, which I really like. They really appeal to me. Little bird study. Daniel Smith watercolours, and I was just playing around with watercolours and coloured pencils to sort of simplify these tree shapes. I was just doodling, I think. I really like this. This is just some splodges of watercolour paint with some little bits of coloured pencil drawn over the top. I don't know how well it shows up. But that's the kind of thing that I really like, just those little scribbly elements in my sketchbook where you get these beautiful textures. I much prefer those to any finished picture that I've done. This dog you'll recognise from the ones that I printed out and then drew over with the graphite. It's exactly the same picture from Procreate, but here, instead of printing it out and then applying the graphite, I used a Procreate graphite brush, and did it all digitally to see how it compared to the pencil version. And that's interesting that he's in my sketchbook, because it was just, you know, a little exercise, and now that's pretty much how I create all my illustrations. So this is the birth, perhaps, of that, and this hair was done in the same way. And then I think at this point in the sketchbook I've sort of realised I'm not very good at gouache, I don't like collage, you know, I'm starting to discover the materials that I enjoy using, the materials that I'm not very good at, the materials that I just don't have the patience for. And so now I've sort of moved on from focused experimentation to just doodling, and here I am using Luminance coloured pencils, and as I say, just doodling, just playing around. And maybe these are some of the nicest things in the sketchbook because of that, because I was just enjoying myself. These ones are pro markers that's pro marker, that's watercolour with coloured pencil over the top. And these I really like. This is water soluble graphite, and here it is mixed with watercolour, and that's a really beautiful material to use. I don't use it often enough. It's really lovely. And here I think I had this idea for drawing this dormouse, and each element was going to be created in a different medium, but obviously I just lost interest in that before I really got started. And here I'm testing different pens and using them to create fur texture. These dogs I really like. These were drawn with markers, and I didn't put down any sketch or line work beforehand. I just kind of went down with the marker. I made deliberately stupid shaped dogs, and I really like them. I think they've got quite a lot of character. They remind me of the cartoon Rude Dog and the Dweebs. And I was doing the same thing here. And here I am again reminding myself that no, I really don't like collage. It's sticky and messy and I'm not very good at it. These two girls were drawn entirely in Procreate, and I really like them. I still really like them to this day. And so sometimes I will stick things in that I've created digitally or I've created on a loose piece of paper. I'll stick them into my sketchbook just as a record of like what I'm doing at the time, because this is in chronological order from the front of the book. And it sort of allows me to see how ideas earlier in the book have developed, how techniques in one material have perhaps influenced what I'm doing in another material and things like that. And here I'm just doodling. This is Pro Marker with coloured pencil over the top. This is really just about the fact that I love coloured pencils. I love the way they feel, and sometimes I just like colouring in with them because of that sort of tactile nature of them. Now both these were created in Procreate. And with these birds, again, I was thinking about surface pattern design, so I was really simplifying the shapes, stripping them back, using, I think there's what, four colours in there, and just applying some texture to them to see what works. And the next page is really ugly. So this is a picture that was a Draw This in Your Style challenge on Instagram. I can't remember who set it, but I did the picture, I did the challenge, and I did it in Procreate in the same style as those girls. But here I had some, I'd been using Neocolors and I'd been sharpening them with a pencil sharpener, so I had lots of shavings left over. And because it's water soluble, you can activate those shavings with water and apply them with a brush like a paint. And I wanted to try that. So I just printed out that picture and transferred it into my sketchbook, because it was a picture that had a lot of sort of different layers to it and textures. And it would allow me to, as I've done previously in the sketchbook, just experiment with the rendering and the colouring without overthinking what it, like, without having to make a decision about what it was I wanted to draw. Anyway, it's hideous. I think it was fun to do, but the colours are very muddied. I don't know, maybe it's the combination of colours, maybe it's just that I needed more practice at doing this kind of thing. Maybe I was just too heavy-handed and I should have used it thinner, like a watercolour. And then sort of built it up with the dry material maybe. But you know, it's a sketchbook and it's there to practice these things and see what works and how you can use materials. That's absolutely nothing. That is just, I had some paint left, so I put it down on the page with the intention of drawing over it afterwards, and I never did. Some more printouts from digital work, but I can't remember why I printed them out. And again, this is Neocolor. Experimenting with just mark making when it's used wet, like wet on wet, dropping different colours onto wet marks and so on. And that's it. And on the last page I wrote, what have I learnt from this sketchbook? And I made 2 pages of bullet points summarising my feelings about all the materials and techniques that I'd played around with in this book. It's really interesting actually in 2004 to look back at these notes from 2 years ago and see where my brain was at and how I was feeling about different media. And I was only just sort of making a start on using Procreate, which is now sort of my go-to when it comes to drawing. If you keep a sketchbook like this that is just about experimentation, I definitely recommend writing all kinds of stupid notes around your drawings to remind you how you felt when you were drawing them and so on. So that's it. You might have noticed I'm starting to lose my voice. Hopefully I will be back next week with another video. It might be one that doesn't involve any talking. Thanks for watching.